Welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites, to another amazing video on the channel relating to everyone's favorite superhero game, none other than Marvel's Avengers, with obviously little to nothing wrong with it in the slightest. Now, of course, I am most definitely making a joke about the current status of Marvel's Avengers. However, I don't want to try to belittle you if you are someone who is actually thoroughly enjoying the experience as it is and are excited for the future content that the game has in store. Although, as I do and have done with all of my previous Marvel's Avengers related videos, I do try my very best to analyze the game's current situation from an analytical, statistical, and factual perspective, rather than just simply letting my fanboy side get the best of me and just being excited for the game simply because it's a Marvel title. And if you have seen any of my previous live streams, which you definitely should in case you haven't, I have been pretty darn direct and blunt about my current viewpoint about the overall status of Marvel's Avengers, where the game currently is right now in terms of its 2021 roadmap, and what content we can expect from it down the line, hopefully in the next few months if the schedule on the current roadmap is still to be believed. But given the current predicament that the game finds itself in as of right now, I don't necessarily think there's a whole lot to be super excited for if this recent report is to be believed. Which, in my case, I do. But before we dive into any of that, I do want to give you all a clear rundown as to what exactly we are confirmed to be expecting during the upcoming E3 festivities, mainly for Square Enix, who of course are the publishers of Marvel's Avengers. Because in case you missed it, and let's be honest, we were all thoroughly expecting this to happen one way or another, is that Square Enix is officially confirmed to be attending E3 2021 and show a quote-unquote glimpse of upcoming events on the Marvel's Avengers roadmap, and, most importantly, the Marvel's Avengers expansion of Black Panther: War for Wakanda. And based on everything that we have been told from Crystal Dynamics up to this point, is that the War for Wakanda expansion is going to be the biggest content drop that Marvel's Avengers has ever seen ever since its main launch back in September of 2020, which will specifically include the brand new hero of Black Panther, new outfits to wear for your characters, a power level cap increase, new villains to face off against, mainly with the inclusion of Claw, a new enemy faction for Claw that will supposedly be different from the massive amount of aimbots that we've been fighting ever since launch, a new story in Marvel's Avengers that revolves directly around T'Challa, a new Wakandan jungle biome which will give the overall layout of the game hopefully a bit more depth than just simply exploring the insides of a bunch of aim bases, and lastly, a brand new outpost to have as your main Avengers headquarters. And to confirm one more time is that unlike the previous content drops that we have received with the hero operations involving Clint Barton, with the Future Imperfect DLC, and the Kate Bishop Taking Aim DLC, the Black Panther War for Wakanda DLC is not necessarily being labeled as a downloadable content pack, but instead a full-on expansion. And as a small comparison to another live service game, think of a similar scenario to the Taken King expansion for Destiny, which then ended up being a massive turnaround for that game, and we're all currently hoping will happen once T'Challa is included in Marvel's Avengers. At least, that's what the majority of people seem to be thinking right now. Whereas for me personally, I do have a massive amount of reservations, especially given this latest article from Forbes journalist Paul Tassi, who in my opinion has done a great job of thoroughly covering Marvel's Avengers in its full extent, and pretty much highlights that the game has a lot of work to do before things can get better. So to read Paul's statements on Avengers in this article, which I will leave as a link in the description below, I just don't believe in the long-term prospects of Avengers at this point. I do not think the game has A, the capability to become a true live service with meaningful content updates many times a year, constructed around an engaging grind, and B, I do not think Square Enix is going to let Crystal Dynamics linger on continuing to make content for the game much past year one, unless the fall and free Black Panther expansion is somehow absurdly transformative for the game and its player base. And regarding some shocking news that did happen recently, is that this is a game that has dipped below 300 players since last night on Steam, and while console may be better, I'd be surprised if it was significantly so. It has not retained a player base, and I cannot see anything multiplying that number by 100, which is still well below half what a game like Destiny gets. This is not a healthy player base because the game has not kept pace with the kind of content updates people thought it would get. Instead, the game's only consistently produced content is a non-stop parade of microtransaction skins, its only form of post-launch revenue. However, I think it's done a fine job with the content that has come. I liked Kate and Hawkeye and their missions. but they will be the only 2 heroes in the entire first year of the game, and after Black Panther, I literally don't know how much runway the game has left. I don't feel comfortable sinking a ton of interim time into a game where its last stand might be just a few months from now. And as much as I think Crystal Dynamics wants to make this work, it's just nearly impossible to see it happening at this point. So not only do I fully agree with everything that Paul discussed within that article, but this is pretty much what I've also been saying in some of my live streams, especially considering the type of genre that Marvel's Avengers is for its game type, that being a live service game. We've already seen the tragic outcome for live service games when they do perform less than stellar, mainly with the cancellation of Anthem Next, but on the flip side, we have seen what happens when a live service game does well, mainly when they release content at a steady schedule with consistent updates that actually intrigues the fans to continuously play the game, primarily relating to the massively popular current live service game that I'm also playing in my free time, with that of Genshin Impact. And whether or not you're someone who immensely loves everything that Marvel's Avengers is, you just can't deny the current statistics that we do have about the game and its staggeringly decreasing player base. Like Paul mentioned in that article, is that the recent Steam charts have indicated that the current player base of Marvel's Avengers on Steam has reached less than 300 players as of just yesterday. For a supposed live service game that's focusing directly on one of the most financially profitable and thoroughly beloved media franchises in the entire world of Marvel, this is less than ideal. And based on the entirety of the Steam charts that we can see on screen right now, starting from the game's launch back in September of last year, from all the way to now in June of 2021, the overall amount of players that have been actually going online to play the game have simply decreased each and every month. However, the only time that these numbers have increased is when the game actually included brand new characters, mainly in December of 2020 with the inclusion of Kate Bishop, and most recently, March of 2021 with the inclusion of Hawkeye himself. And obviously, there's going to be a player increase no matter what the second that Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics include Black Panther and obviously Spider-Man within the game's character roster, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be enough to fully revive the game to a state which can be financially profitable and feasible for the developers to keep developing the game over time. Because if Black Panther's inclusion is anything less than the expansion that we've been promised for the past few months now, then I can guarantee you it is simply going to blow up in Square Enix's face. These numbers also indicate that the only reason that people log back in to play Marvel's Avengers is to try out the brand new story content for the other heroes added to the roster. But after they finished everything that the main campaign had to offer, and the extra hero operations with Clint and Kate, they then decided to stop playing the game completely and of course wait until more hero content is included within the game. And seeing how long these time gaps have been, where months and months and months have passed ever since these other heroes' inclusions, if we have to wait even more months until the next hero is added after Black Panther, that is not going to work out for this game's future. And that's not something that one can simply ignore, especially when that relates to a live service game which thrives off of player engagement. And knowing that Marvel's Avengers has so little is a definite cause for concern. So in the end, everyone, while things aren't looking too good for Marvel's Avengers as of right now, we won't necessarily know the final fate of the game until Black Panther is included within the product when Summer and Beyond comes around. Again, we don't know the full date as to when he's set to release, but hopefully we do get a full confirmation as to when that is during the E3 showcase. And with all that said, everyone, that's the video that I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think about the current status of Marvel's Avengers? Do you love the game? Do you hate the game? Are you even still currently playing the game? And do you think that Black Panther will be something that will totally do a complete 180 for the status of the game in a great way, or be the final nail in the coffin for where it currently stands? And if Square Enix and Eidos Montreal are taking anything from Marvel's Avengers into consideration, I just hope that whatever Guardians of the Galaxy ends up being, it doesn't turn into the same outcome that what we're currently seeing now with Marvel's Avengers. Still, we're just gonna have to wait until E3 to find out for sure. But until next time, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy. And without further ado, peace out.